I'm good, thank you very much. Just got back to Germany yesterday after visiting family in Romania for a couple of weeks
Oh,
and got back here now.
oh, great. I didn't knew about your trip. I'm going to Romania in less than a month. Well, yeah, a month,
Okay.
more or less. Yes, yes. Okay. Then I just want to make a short intro about Expat Live is a session of live interviews, live chats with people originally from Romania. I will start with people originally from Romania as myself that decided to move abroad, that decided to do something different. And like the main reason, or one of the reasons I want to do that is because maybe we can help other people that want to move abroad, or as well we can make a parallel between a moment in life where you have to decide to make a change and how that brings a lot of thoughts, a lot of doubts, a lot of fears, and then how we can overcome that and make it happen. Okay, so that's one of the reasons I'm trying to do the series. And in this situation, in this particular situation, Teodora can be very, very helpful because she's a coach, a personal development coach, and she can really help that um, in that stage. So just if you want, make a small presentation of who you are and what you do, and then we will develop that further on.
Sure. Thank you, Jonna, first for the invitation. It's lovely to be here with you. And from the first moment that I heard about your idea to create this series of lives, I thought it was a wonderful way to kind of connect Romanians from all over the world, because we know there is a huge number of us everywhere. um,
Definitely.
So yeah, I'm Teo or Teodora. I'm originally from Cluj-Napoca in Transylvania, and right now I live next to Munich in Germany. I trained in psychology initially, and I worked in human resources at the beginning of my career. And then I decided to switch to the part that I was the most passionate about, which is personal growth, personal development, which is why I gained training and experience in the field of coaching and training. And right now, this is what I do. I'm self-employed. I work about 80 to 90% remotely, either one-on-one in coaching sessions or with groups. But sometimes I also do face-to-face trainings, for example, Erasmus projects here in Europe, or some other trainings for companies, which have started to resume the face-to-face dynamic after the pandemic.
Wow, that's amazing, right? Like so much information. And how long did it take you to develop this? How long have you been doing this?
You mean my experience or?
Yes, your experience as a coach. I mean,
Oh, right. So I think, the whole process took quite a while. I started officially when I was 18, so 10 years ago. I started studying psychology, and I lived in the UK for 3 years, and that's where I studied experimental psychology. And then the next years kind of continued this process. I got my master's, then I trained in psychodrama, which is a type of psychotherapy, but I decided that psychotherapy was not necessarily the path I wanted to take. However, the training in psychodrama really helped me because it worked with my deepest life stories, feelings, insecurities, and it really helped me to become more equipped to work with other people. And then in the last 3 years, I've also trained more specifically in training and in coaching. But before that, while I was working in human resources, I would really highlight that the experience I got there was also very valuable. Not
definitely.
only when I worked in recruitment, but also when I worked in training and learning and development. It
Mhm.
really exposed me to lots of types of people and got me, thinking and analyzing what's really important.
Yeah, got you like kind of on the track, right?
Exactly.
That's another example of how every step we take along the way makes us the person we are and makes us be in the place we are right now.
Yes.
Let's gather a bit more information about like a bit of your personal situation right now. Where do you live right now? And yes, you said you were like born in Cluj. Amazing, amazing city. I love it. And just tell us, where do you live now, and maybe why, if you can give us a reason.
Yeah, so I was actually born in Târgu Mureș, next to Cluj, but I never lived there. It was just getting born because my mother was from there. And then I spent my whole childhood in Cluj until the age of 18. Now I live in Hersching. It's a very small, pretty town next to Munich, about half an hour away. I came here because my partner, my boyfriend, is German, and we decided to move here together about 3 years ago. But also because when I moved back to Romania after my studies in England, I felt I had this feeling that I will go back to a Western country again in Europe. It's not that I don't like Romania, it's my home, I love it. But sometimes I feel a little bit frustrated being there. So getting more of a, I don't know, let's say culture or mentality that fits with my way of operating was something that I found here. And it was also one of the factors that made me move here.
Yes, I completely understand. We will get to the point where we can discuss a bit more in detail the differences, the cultural differences, and the pros and cons. And definitely it's part of making that decision, right? Like when you maybe instinctually, if you're very young, you do it instinctually. If you are a bit more mature, then you make that choice consciously. And it has to follow those inner needs that we have, right? To be around people similar to us, even people that we don't know, because that's something we perceive as well. Like when you live in a place, then you can see how people act and so on. Amazing. So now we already know that you also have your boyfriend and you share this experience. He's German, but he's from this part of Germany, or he's also like living in a different place?
No, he's originally from here, but we always laugh because when people ask, where did you meet? We always say in England, and people are like, okay, that's a story.
But that's nice, right?
Yes, yes.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, yeah.
I think it really helped that both of us we have this mindset that, you know, traveling and being in different countries is an amazing experience.
That's great. Yeah, that's a very good thing to have in common, right? Because traveling means you're gonna spend time outside your home, and if your partner doesn't like traveling, then doesn't make any sense, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, sure. Okay, that's nice. I think yeah, like life puts us exactly where we have to be, and sometimes it's a process that we don't even realize it's happening.
Yes.
And you mentioned your education. I'm sure that you are the kind of person that you are always studying, or you always want to be updated, and you always look for new methods and things to enrich your knowledge. But like your education, your initial education, what was it? What did you study at the beginning before being a coach?
Yeah, so I started with psychology. That's what I felt was a real calling from when I was about 16 or so. I remember I paused for about a year and I asked myself, what do I really want to do? And what is really like suited for my way of being, for my style? And that's when I identified psychology as the main thing that I wanted to focus on. I studied in York, in the UK. It's like northern England, closer to Scotland. And the approach there was more focused on experimental psychology, which is testing, creating experiments to figure out from a more scientific point of view how the mind works, how the brain works, and so on and so forth. And then I feel like the rest of my journey, educationally speaking, kind of built on that initial stepping stone.
Mm-hmm. I'm amazed by your vision that you had, right? Because 16, 17, I remember those times in my life were completely chaos, like, but not in a bad way, in a good way, like doing everything you have in your mind and not analyzing, not thinking. I think you and I wouldn't have been friends
back then.
Back then, no way. Because I would be like, okay, what's next? I don't know, doesn't matter, let's go, let's do this, let's do that. Oh no, then of course I did that for a very short period of time, because inside I'm an analytical person as well, but back then it was all about experiencing. But it's amazing, right, that you chosen that side of psychology that is so peculiar in analyzing and experimenting and getting to really understand how the mind works, because I think that's one of the main goals of psychology, right? Get to the root of why we act, why we think, why we feel. Amazing. How was that experience for you, and having that chance to get that education, and also being in a foreign country that's not yours? That was your first time you went outside, right? Out of Romania.
Yeah, I mean, properly to live abroad, yes, it was the first time. It was, I mean, I loved studying psychology. I always say that I would go back to study some more if it was not so expensive. But it was also challenging, especially at the beginning, in the first few months or the first year, being, alone in a different country, not knowing anyone, and adapting to a new style of doing things. And here, because we are in this conversation about Romanians going abroad, I want to add something very important. I think in Romania, we are raised to think that we always have to work, that we always have to be busy with something. The school makes us like have a lot of classes during the day, a lot of homework, a lot of studying to do. And sometimes I felt in Romania that there was more focus placed on how much work you do rather than if that work is actually quality work and if it actually helps anyone with anything. And then in England, I found a completely different approach with much, much fewer classes, more independent study, but also more critical thinking and more creativity. It wasn't so much about studying hard, but rather about thinking about what you're studying, integrating it, applying it, understanding it. And I loved it, but it was also challenging, after 18 years of being trained in a completely different system.
Yeah. It was more about the quality, not the quantity. Yeah. I know. I had the same feeling when I arrived in Spain, because I brought with myself a lot of knowledge, like a basis of knowledge, and I think that's a positive thing. But at the same time, I was very like square thinking, kind of, right? And at the end of the day, I think one of the consequences of that education was that when I started working, I also had the feeling that it was never enough. I always had to do more. I always had to demonstrate. I always had to sacrifice, and it's a good thing, but I think it burns you, because you have to learn how to focus that on particular things. But I did it like always in
Yeah.
all of the situation.
Yeah.
And it's a very good thing that we have that capacity in Romania, because our education, our parents, our educational system works like that, but then it's not applicable in real life. Because but yeah, like, I understand what you're saying. I'm happy that you had that experience in England so early at the beginning, because you had time to adjust and readapt. I wished I would have had my creativity and my critical thinking trained 20 years ago. But yeah, I think I'm on the good track right now. I hope people that are viewing this can take this as a great idea. It's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. And great message. Okay, so then you had a great experience in London, and then what you did is you went back to Romania, right?
Yes, I did for about 3 years afterwards.
And what happened? What made you want to go back? Was there something particular, a particular moment in time? What influenced you to go back abroad?
So I think when I graduated from university, I thought that it would be a good idea for me to work in Romania for a while and also be with my friends and family, because I didn't necessarily feel like I fit in the English culture. Not that I disliked it. The education was amazing, but I just felt a bit disconnected. At university, it was different because there were people from all over the world, so the community was very international. It didn't feel like any country in particular. It just felt like this, human connection. But outside of university, it felt slightly different. So I decided to move back to Romania for a while. And I did my master's there. I studied conflict as a very new type of study that was really awesome. And here is where I experienced also really high quality Romanian education. We were a very small group of 5 people.
Wow.
And
Amazing.
we did like these lectures in a very small group. We had a lot of practical applications, a lot of real authentic conversations with each other and the professors, and also some experience in for example, going to Greece and taking part in a negotiation and mediation competition where the university sponsored us. So it was really amazing. And that's where I also worked in human resources. It helped that I had done some internships in Romania in the summer while I was studying in England. So now I could actually start and work in the field of human resources because of networking and, previous connections and experience.
Amazing. Yeah. So what happened then? You finished that let's say chapter, and then you started looking for possibilities to going abroad, or?
Oh, it was more complicated in the sense that, it was a very full period for me. 3 years full of work and studies and a lot of self-development. It was a bit much, and I feel like at that point in time I was quite burnt out from doing too many things at the same time. And I had reached a point where 2 things were happening simultaneously. One of them was that I was ready to start my own business. I wanted to be self-employed, work as a trainer and coach. And on the other hand, because of the personal life reasons that I mentioned earlier, Germany was the right option for that. But it was in the middle of the lockdown. So it was quite a strange time in 2020 when I moved here in June.
Wow.
It was really hard to travel. I took this bus with other workers. And we managed to cross the border. It was quite stressful, but
so you had the experience like a real immigrant, like when
yes.
you are running away from your country.
Yes.
Okay.
It was not nice. I was very, very upset while that was happening.
Yeah, but that was not that was the only possibility that you had
yes,
back then, like
yes,
with the situation. Okay, so yeah, but now everything is okay. So everything
yes.
is, yeah,
Back to normal
back to
again.
normal. Yeah. I think it's I think the attitude that some people have, that they say, "Oh, let's forget about it." I don't want to forget about it. I
No.
want to take out the best, and of course not forget about the drama, the worst
Mhm.
part of this
Yep.
pandemic, but definitely, at least in my case, definitely changed my life. So for the good.
Same.
I think it's at the end of the day, it was a positive experience. I'm happy that you were courageous enough to do that, and that you arrived safe and sound in Bavaria, in Germany. So it's a nice story that you will be able to. I'm sure that you can in detail how long it took you. More than a day, right? A day and a half it took you by bus.
Like not quite, because we traveled at night, so it was easier to go faster, but about 17, 18 hours, so quite a lot.
Yeah, I remember back then the times when we had to travel by car
Yes.
from Spain to Romania.
Mm.
It's 35 hours of driving if you only stop like
Yeah.
now and then to put
Yes.
gas. So I remember
Yes.
I've done a couple of those trips, and it's not easy, but yeah. Now we can
Sometimes you
fly.
have to.
Yeah, sometimes you have to. Now we can fly, so it's a
Exactly.
completely different experience. Great. So now you are there. Now you are in Germany. Now you are settled. You'll have 3 years in June.
Yes.
And do you feel like you're an expat? And I want you to explain, if you can, what does expat mean to you?
Mm. I've been thinking about this, and yes, to some extent, I do, because I think, and I'm saying this also from the perspective of psychology, everything that has happened to us, our culture, our language, our life experiences, they all shape who we are right now and will shape our future as well. So, of course, the Romanian story is a huge part of me, and I treasure that. Um, at the same time, there's a contrasting belief that I also have, which is that we are all people beyond everything that is different. And it's the philosophy that I embraced when I was 18 and I moved to England for the first time. I remember I was feeling quite like nervous. And I thought,
Of
well,
course.
everyone is a person. Like, we have a different language and we have a slightly different culture or religion or whatever, but deep down we have the same needs. We have, physiological needs, emotional needs, social needs, and so on and so forth. And if we kind of go beyond what we see on the outside, there is a beautiful connection that we can establish. So that's more the philosophy that I approach my life and living in a different country by. But of course, I can't completely neglect the part of me that is foreign. And to answer your question, what does expat mean? I think in my case, it also means that I have to overcome some of the limiting beliefs that I have that come from being Romanian, like having not such a great money mindset, the scarcity mindset that a lot of Eastern Europeans deal with, or kind of trusting authorities and trusting the state, because in Romania we have this tendency to always criticize authorities and the state and politicians and not to trust that you can actually be supported. But here it's quite different, and I'm still finding myself quite cautious and seeing, like, can I really trust them? But I've had positive experiences so far in that respect.
I'm very happy for that. I can see where you are going with your perception of being an expat. I agree with you. And I think now it would be just if you can give us a few details about what was different, except for the age, if you can it's difficult because you are very young when you went to London. What I want to ask you is, how was it different, your first experience going abroad with this one? What do you think it improves? I assume it improved a lot, but what do you think was the main thing that made this second experience better than the first one?
I think having more emotional maturity in general helped in the second situation, and having more self-awareness, knowing myself better, what I like, what I don't like, what works for me, what doesn't, and so on and so forth. But also the fact that now I was not alone when I made a decision, and having someone that is close to you and sharing the experience with them changes things a lot. It was different when I was 18 and completely alone in a new country. So emotional maturity and connection to other people, I would say, improved.
I can imagine that now you are more secure. You feel a higher level of security only because you can handle whatever comes, and at the same time you have someone that could help you as well and support you as well. Amazing. It's very, very important. You see, we try always to find that safe place, or to create that safe place if we don't have it. In my experience, it was very similar, because in the 20 years I've been living abroad, I went back and forth 3 times. Every time was better than the first one. The easiest one was the first time, because I was very young. But what I have to overcome and the situations I encountered along the way were easier with closer to the present day, because I knew how to handle things better and differently. So it's a similar situation. And of course, I also need the people around me, and I also need that safe place to know that I have this as a way of or as a place where I can be safe if something happens. Thank you so much for your details. I think they are very useful. And even if we are not talking about moving abroad, is changing into maybe a new company, or changing your life, going to a different city, or whatever major change we want to do in life, I think it's a very useful view to have. Okay, let's talk a bit more about the cultural differences. I know you mentioned a few, but let's go in particular about this part of Germany. I know it's one of the they say it's one of the nicest parts of Germany. It's very difficult because it's something very personal. But what were the cultural differences that you had to navigate when you moved to Bavaria?
Honestly, I've not felt any cultural barrier. A lot of people say that Germans are rigid or cold, but in my experience, this was not the case at all. I actually prefer this way. And the reason is that I perceive them to be more authentic. I don't really like fake niceness, and just talking for the sake of talking really annoys me, especially this small talk and these kinds of things. So I prefer having shorter and more meaningful conversations. So, and also I've not really experienced any negative attitude from anyone I've ever met here so far. So if I'm to think about cultural differences, I would highlight some that maybe don't put Romania in the best light, but
yeah, you should, because it's good to know, right? It's good to know that maybe we don't have that.
Something, I mentioned at the beginning of the interview that I feel like Western Europe fits my profile better. The reason why I'm saying this is because there is this assessment. It's called the Hofstede assessment. Hofstede was a psychologist, and he analyzed some dimensions that characterize cultures. And then you can also take the test individually. I think you have to pay something for it, and then you get your report. And my report said that I was similar the most to Belgian people or something like this, and quite different from Romanians, generally speaking. So from that angle, what I do see as a difference is that Romania is more collectivist, but also more afraid to like share. It's a strange paradox. People have this belief, maybe it comes from communism, that we have to all be the same. We should not stand out from the crowd. Everyone should like keep their heads down and all that. But still people struggle to really collaborate and be nice to each other, like in reality, especially with older generations who have experienced communism. On the other hand, in Western Europe and also here, I see people not being so collectivist. They are more independent and individualistic when they focus on their own goals, families, careers. But if they do need to collaborate, they are much more open to do it. They think that, you know, we can have a win-win approach if we put my skills together and your skills together, and we can create something nice. And there's more trust. Whereas in Romania, I feel like there's quite a lot of like skepticism, and sometimes it's fair because we have lived in challenging situations where you couldn't trust other people. You had to be careful. But I don't think this is serving us anymore in Romania. I think people need to learn to collaborate with each other and support each other, not always like try to stab each other behind their backs.
I definitely agree with you. That was one of the reasons I had to come back so many times, because I couldn't fit in anymore, you know, because of that, like all of that afraidness, right? People are afraid and they are not really open to collaborate or to share and to be helpful in a non interested way. Like there's always something behind. And I am not sure, like, well, as you said, it leaves us not in a very good spot. But I think things are changing, and the new generations are more and more open to having this mindset of openness, this mindset of being more authentic and being more collaborative. And definitely those consequences of communism and of the living under such a dictatorial regime are fading away. It's very difficult to change the identity of a whole country, but it's not impossible. Let's hope that we will improve, and life in Romania in general will improve in time. Significantly. Yes.
I think what I'm noticing, and there are also some studies recently that were published in psychology, which show that younger generations, especially those born after 95 or after 2000, they are much more similar if you compare them like across countries. Whereas people who were born before the 80s, they are much more different in different countries, because now globalization and the internet is helping us have access to very similar kind of information and education and so on and so forth.
Yeah, well, actually, you see, I'm very observative as well, and when in my situation, my personal situation, when I relate or when I get in contact with people here in Spain, at least, what I experienced in my childhood, right? Because you start talking and sharing experiences, and what we had, like the games that we played, and the atmosphere generally that we had. For me, I'm in my 40s. People here that are in my 40s were light years away, you know, because I was in my 40s before the revolution. So I tend to have similar experiences and things with people that are in their 50s. So in my situation, only in Spain, minimum 10 years of
Yeah.
difference between our experiences and how we lived in Romania and what we do, what we did, what we saw on TV, what we, I don't know, even some similarities in food and I don't know, whatever. And then I'm sure that if I would go maybe to France or if I would go to England, I haven't studied it. I mean, I haven't experienced it because I haven't lived in a different country than Spain. Maybe the difference would be even bigger. Yes. Because also Spain was a country that kind of developed a bit later compared to other European countries. So yeah. I think I think in my situation I've come a long way, because when I think back to my situation, my childhood, the experiences I had, how I grew up, and then now I see myself now, and it's even easier for me because I kind of compare myself with my childhood friends. The difference is huge. So yeah, that leads me to my next question that I want to know. How do you think that living abroad affected your personal and professional development? I know you can talk about this for hours, but let's try and concentrate it in a few words. How do you think it affected you living abroad?
I think it was mainly a personal impact, which then translated into a professional one, because it helped me become a bit more open-minded. It helped me learn how to integrate different points of view and how to be more mentally flexible, simply because of interacting with different people, different mindsets, cultures. And that helps me professionally because now I work with people from all over the world, from the US to Europe, everywhere to Asia. And that means that I have to adapt the way that I speak, and I also have to be more tolerating and mindful of potential stories that clients come into our work together with. So this, I would say, is really the most important part.
Yeah, that's great. I'm happy that you can collect that benefit from living abroad. Do you think you would have been, definitely, you would have been a different person if you didn't have this experience, right?
Yeah, maybe not a different person, but definitely I would see things differently, and I would maybe do things differently. But at the same time, I have this philosophy that things that are meant to happen, happen. And knowing myself and knowing my personality and my values and my vision for the future, I've always treasured traveling, not just for holiday, but also for like showing up in different places. So I think it would have happened.
It would have happened
or another.
Yeah, some way or another. Okay, I want to kind of round this part of our questions. We are talking about the experience of living abroad, and I would like to know if you have a particular way of staying connected to your home country. Do you have Romanian friends where you live? I know you just said you traveled to Romania. How do you stay connected to Romania?
So here, the biggest benefit of working remotely so much and being self-employed is that I can do it from different places. And this is something I treasure very much, because it's important for me to keep in touch with my family and my closest friends. So I go to Romania quite often, about once every 2-3 months. I go there and I spend 2 or 3 weeks at once.
Oh, that's
I was
nice.
just there for a couple of weeks now. And since I have family and friends to visit, I do that. I also sometimes have some work projects. I'm working with a hospital near Cluj right now. So once every few months, I do a couple of trainings for the staff. And this part really helps me stay connected. And then the other part is the internet, video calls and WhatsApp and all these social media platforms really help to also stay connected. Some of them also visit me sometimes. My parents have visited, some of my friends have visited. Sure. So we are quite connected still.
Do you have like a very particular, I don't know, maybe food or something very Romanian that you like to have in your daily life, or not so much anymore?
No, but I mean,
music,
in Romania,
I don't know.
Yeah, and actually, I'm obsessed right now with a podcast in Romanian, Fain și Simplu, if you know about
Oh
it,
yeah,
from Mihai Morar. I
yeah.
listen to that quite a lot, and I really enjoy the conversations.
Yeah, yeah, sure. That's like one of those, like you have those roots. And yeah,
Mhm.
I followed him for a while now. I disconnected because yeah, like time is limited and I have
Sure.
so many things to do. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
one of the, I'm not with food anymore, but
Mhm.
not on a daily basis. But yeah, I still have some, maybe sometimes so- makes me laugh every time I, in my mind, or I think like what my grandmother would say makes me
Mhm.
laugh, because that's very Romanian, and I
Yes.
like it, I'm like, oh, look, now I'm saying the same thing my grandmother would say because she taught me that when I was little. So yeah, that's one of my roots with Romanian culture.
I like that. Yes.
You know how it is, because they had such a great impact on us, right? That in our childhood. Yeah.
And Romanian humor is something I like and I treasure still. There are some Instagram pages that share a lot of memes, with like Romanian jokes and funny things that you can't explain in a different language. And that I also really enjoy.
Yeah.
Still.
In my situation, I find, and I'm sure in Germany as well, but Spanish humor is quite similar to our
Ah,
humor. And
sure.
yeah,
Mm.
and we have, sometimes we even have the same bad jokes, and that's
Yes.
really, really funny. So yeah, it's true. Humor is one of the things that most unite people that
Mm.
don't really have a connection, a deeper
Yeah.
connection. And
Yeah.
it's amazing how humor, laughter, and sharing jokes can be so beneficial in
Very
making
much
those
so.
connections. Yeah.
Very much so.
Okay, let's get serious now. Serious in not really, really serious. I would like you to, even if you talked about it at the beginning of our, just a little bit at the beginning of our interview, or our chat, I would like to get a bit more in detail about your professional situation, about your professional career. So
Mhm.
let's just quickly say again what job experiences you had and what companies you worked for, just to remember a bit about that.
Mhm. Yeah, so for the first few years, I worked in human resources in an agency in Romania. I did recruitment. Then I transitioned to learning and development in that company, and I worked with other recruiters in the company. I helped them develop skills specifically
Mm.
for recruitment, but also soft skills,
Mm.
communication, conflict management, client interaction, and so on and so forth. And I also, in the same company, there was a training department, and I was also a trainer for soft skills. And I was involved in a few projects as well for other corporate clients or other smaller clients as well. And then from there, about 3 years ago, I decided to go self-employed. And for the past 3 years, I've been working as an mainly online, sometimes offline personal development trainer and coach. I focus on personality types, public speaking, communication, and more general life coaching. With public speaking and communication, I do trainings for groups, but I also work independently with people to help them enhance the way they communicate personally or professionally. Personality types have been a passion of mine for more than 12 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So I also enjoy integrating that in my approach. And I also do life coaching one-on-one with people from all over the world on many different subjects, because life coaching is a type of coaching that holds space for whatever comes up because of the type of tool that it is.
Amazing. That's a lot of areas, right, in coaching, and I see how they connect
Mm-hmm.
and how you can really help people in that, like assess and help people in that
Mm-hmm.
transformational process that
Yeah.
we all, I think in one point of our lives, we want to start and to
Yeah.
continue to keep on developing.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So let's focus a bit on this moment then you started your own business. Was it the same moment when you came to Germany, or was it a bit before, or how did that go?
So I opened the first business in Romania very shortly before coming to Germany. I still have this business, and I have it with one of my friends who's a software developer, Bianca. She's also a digital nomad, and she's also traveling the world now. We were wanting to also make an app together that would help people develop public speaking skills. That project is now on hold, but we still do trainings for some companies, for the hospital, and so on and so forth from the Romanian business. And then a bit later, I also started a German business as well. And here I primarily do life coaching and some communication coaching as well.
So like the business from Romania is focused on public speaking, and the one from Germany is more like on life coaching and
Yes.
training.
Yes.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Very interesting. I have to talk to you after we finish, because I'm very interested in everything. But yeah, let's focus on our very interesting. Okay, so is there a project that you are focusing right now on, or you are just nurturing all of these business lines that you mentioned?
So the biggest part of my work now is working one-on-one with different private people, private clients. I also have an ongoing training that I'm doing for a hospital every few months, and I'm also working on some on creating some new Erasmus projects. I had one that I was involved in with another friend from Romania who has an NGO last year. And we just finished that, and we are now creating some new applications for some new projects for the end of this year and also for next year.
Oh, that's nice.
These are the main things.
And when you work with your clients, let's focus a bit on your one-to-one sessions, let's say, because then like I would like you to tell us what's your main goal when you work one-to-one. How do you structure your sessions?
So my main focus, the underlying red thread, is self-awareness. Because I believe that the more self-aware we are, the more we heighten and improve in this area, everything else improves. Our romantic relationships, our friendships, our work relationships, our vision for our career, our emotional intelligence, and so much more. So my approach is mainly to support people in clarifying what it is that they want to improve. We do this at the beginning in the first session, which is usually a free session, so that people get to know me, I get to know them, we see if we are a good fit, and then we decide if we want to continue together. Otherwise, my approach is quite flexible. I don't have a set number of sessions that people take. I allow people to decide for themselves, because I think this is important. Some people only need 2 sessions. Some people want to work together for a year. It really depends, because the goals are different, people are different, the needs are different. So I create space for that. My recommendation usually to my clients is to come for about at least 6 sessions, because that's when we can usually see progress, and to do it either weekly or bi-weekly. But I always leave people the possibility to decide for themselves what works best. And also in terms of structure, we meet for 60 minutes, either once per week, once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks, especially later when we've been working together for a while. Sometimes the frequency decreases. And the process changes, because that's the beauty of coaching. There are some set things and some pillars that we build this practice on, but people are very different, and the conversation can go in very different directions. Sometimes you might think your struggle is related to communication skills, but then you might realize it's actually a fear that you have of something which is holding you back. Exactly. So then we go and explore the underlying feelings, fears, doubts, etc., etc.
Yeah, I like that very much. I think flexibility it's very useful in this kind of situation when you unveil, like you begin to unwrap those hidden spots inside, and then you don't know what might come out. Maybe you as a coach with your experience already know in advance, but is the person that has to see it and discover it on their own. You can't point it out directly, so you have to take that process and make it, as you said, very flexible. I know this. The next question is kind of, I like to ask it because it's a nice approach. Why do you think people should choose you or trust that they can have results with you?
First of all, I would say that everyone can feel when a person is right to work with them, and certain people resonate with certain people. I also do the same when I choose my own coaches or therapists or mentors. But more specifically than that, the fact that I focus on self-awareness as a process rather than as a quick fix, I think is a really valuable aspect, because I don't like to give people recipes for how to solve their problems. I don't think this is a sustainable approach. I don't like telling people what to do, but rather helping them in identifying what's important to them, what they value, how they feel about things. And secondly, the fact that I have quite a wide array of skills that complement each other. I don't just focus on one specific thing, but rather my experience and my credentials in psychology, psychodrama, personality, communication and public speaking, even some career part from human resources, I think help me to have more tools and to support people in different situations and in different ways. And thirdly, for who I am as a person, for those who resonate with me and my approach, I'm quite patient with people and empathetic, and also quite intuitive. So sometimes I can easily read between the lines and tell what's going on behind what someone is saying.
Yeah, I would add you are a really, really nice person. I think you can transmit that even if we are online. And what I really liked about you was, maybe it's just my feeling, your voice, the tone of your voice and the way you pronounce words is very soothing, is like very calming, makes you feel, the way you talk, like in a slower way, not very rapidly, because sometimes people speak very rapidly. I think it's very interesting. It's something that you have as well, and I'm sure even unconsciously makes a good impact. The things that you mentioned are very interesting, because you can really give a integral, holistic approach and help people to see things from different perspectives. Because when you are in a point where you want to learn more about you, you can be like, those, like, I don't know how to call it, like very focused, and you need to get out of that problem and to see it from different points. And that's very, very nice. I would definitely, I'm sure that you definitely help people, like you can support them and help them to improve their lives in general. Even so, like, I'm sure that sometimes people have their like their reservations, right? What do you think are the common reasons why people sometimes have their doubts in working with you?
So firstly, from a general perspective, people are still sometimes resistant to going to coaching or going to therapy and investing in their personal development, simply because it's hard, or it's harder to measure it in a very tangible way. It's not the same as being an engineer and producing this many pieces of something. More specifically, in my case, I don't try to convince people to work with me because I don't think that works. I tell them about what I do and what I don't do. Sometimes I also say no to certain clients because I
Sure.
know that I'm not the right coach for them. And what I've learned along the way is to stay true to what I believe in, and not to just do something because someone asks me if it's not something that I think will help that person in reality. Even though, it would be a new client, more money, I don't like to think in that way. So
Sure.
I prefer to tell them things as they are and then let them decide if they fit or not.
Amazing. Yeah, sure. I think that's a very good approach. And yeah, it's definitely not trying to convince people to do something as important as personal development. I think you can try to convince someone to use, I don't know, different brand of whatever food, but not trying to convince someone that they should invest in their personal development. It's something that definitely has to come from within.
Exactly.
And it's a different trip for everyone, like a different way of getting to that point.
Yeah.
I think so. What do you think, like, when you are in the process and you already are in a more advanced point in your coaching sessions, what do your clients achieve? What's the most common outcome that your clients achieve thanks to your work?
I think that through our partnership, most of my clients get to a place of more self-awareness and an availability to recognize that this is a process that never ends. And from that point, the more specific outcomes really vary. Some people feel like their personal relationships improved a lot, or they got out of relationships that were really unsatisfying or toxic. Some people find more happiness and fulfillment in their careers, either because they change it or they do something in the existing circumstances to find more happiness. And then others have an improvement in the level of skill, communication and public speaking specifically, because that's something that I focus on. And here, like, to take it to a more tangible space, I've had people say, because I got better at public speaking as a business owner, I'm now better able to sell my services, explain to my clients what I do, and I actually got more clients after the training. So these kinds of situations also, bring a lot of value and they make me really happy.
Sure. Because you are one of the reasons they were able to achieve that. You know what amazes me more about coaching is that if it's done rightly, but more from the from the client view, not from the coach view, from the coach's part, you can learn how to use it in a different aspect of your life, because coaching helps you understand how you function, understand how you are built, and then you can learn how to apply that on different aspects.
Yes, definitely. And it gives you the flexibility to know that you can make choices for yourself rather than be a victim to circumstances.
Yeah, sure. Rather to carried away by whatever your mind tells you, or your past experiences taught you, or yes, definitely. I'm a big fan of coaching, and I think I don't know why it's not used in education, right? It should be part of our education in school. I mean, even from childhood. As a curiosity, just a question that popped in my mind right now. Do you also do coaching for younger people, or do you only work with adults?
I only work with adults, at least so far.
Interesting. Yeah, sure. Okay. I hope that the people that are seeing us right now or will see us later were able to extract a good part of information from this talk that we had, this block about specifically about your professional situation right now. definitely made me curious, and I will definitely talk to you and see if we can collaborate, of course. And now I just want to wrap a bit more our chat, our interview, and let's see where you are right now, right? Let's see, are you struggling maybe, or do you have any challenges that you are currently facing? In general, you can choose, because I know we always have struggles, like that would be very nice not to. What are your challenges right now? The one that you want to mention?
I would say struggling to decide what exactly I want to do about social media as a tool to get my services out there and for people to know about it. Because on the one hand, it's been helpful. On the other hand, I'm a bit tired and frustrated of all the changes that are always happening with the algorithms. And I feel like, I don't have so much time and energy to invest in learning about this. So it's still a process of me deciding how much I want to invest in this and how much I want to invest in other things.
I totally agree with you. I'm in the same situation, and it's overwhelming for us that we are not experts in digital marketing or in media tools.
Yeah.
The way things rapidly happen and change, and we have to invest time. I hope you can find a way to answer that question, those doubts, to approach them and to improve them. I think it's also a challenge to find the right persons that can help us and that can give us advice on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so then as a general question, would you recommend moving to another country to people that are thinking about it or not even thinking about it? How do you think that should be approached?
I think people should look for self-awareness first and ask themselves, what are their core needs? What are their core values? And what can they do to meet those at the highest possible level? Sometimes that might mean moving abroad, sometimes it might not. But it's really important to look at things from this perspective rather than just looking at the superficial level of, should I move or should I stay? Well, I don't know. First, we have to see what's deep there.
Amazing. What I didn't expect this answer. I'm sure it's very helpful for the people that are seeing us. So let's say that people do that internal analysis, and they arrive to the point where they think that, okay, let's move abroad. What advice would you give them if they want to move they decide to move abroad, either for work or for business?
To not neglect their basic needs, because they will not change regardless of where they go. The need for safety, emotional and physical, the need for connection and belonging, the need for development, the need for physical, support. And to constantly check with themselves how they are feeling, because when we are in a different environment, we might forget to look inside and find ways to fulfill our needs. And that's really important. It's something to hold on to and constantly reflect on and get back to.
Oh, that's amazing. It's such a good thing to say. I found myself neglecting myself along the way so many times, and so many times focusing in just one aspect of the benefits you get when you move abroad. Definitely more making more money, to say directly, more material outcome from what you do, but then you don't have anything, or you don't have enough of the other areas. And trying to analyze it and balancing everything, it's part of the process of living abroad or beginning a new chapter in your life.
Exactly.
Okay, let's see. We are reaching our end, and I have 3 more questions that I want to ask you. So I would like to know if that hypothetical situation where you are right now and you have all the knowledge, what would you do differently now if you could?
Nothing. I think I really believe that each step is a part of your personal journey in life, and that each step has a meaning in itself. So I don't like thinking about regrets or what I would change. I only like to think about the future and what I can do better in the future with what I know now.
Exactly, applying it differently. If I would have to say in my case, because I think I would change timings. I would do
things
sooner, you know,
Okay.
like not waiting so much in
Analyzing.
Yeah, in analyzing, and then not bearing so much with bad situation or not as good situation. So that's something I'm already applying in the present, and of course in the future. Those timings were not, but yeah, I mean, as you said, it's amazing because everything can be turned in a positive outcome. Great.
Exactly.
How do you see your future? Do you think you'll stay in Bavaria? Do you think you'll go to a different country? You'll go back to Romania? What's your future? How do you see it?
I would like to stay. We are currently looking for a house in the area, so it also depends on that. But right now, the prices and the interest rates are quite high, so we are still, looking and looking. We've even looked across the border in Austria a little bit, but we still need to figure that out. But from where I stand right now, I see myself staying here. Yes.
Oh, amazing. That's a good news, because yeah, of course, like how much or how far away we can plan our future, we don't know, but it's good to know
dream.
That to dream, to know that you want to do this, and yeah, I think it's very nice. I remember I like moving.
I also do.
It used to be quite stressful at the beginning, but now when you learn, I learned along the way how to not be very attached to material things. So now it's easier, because you can start again and have another home and have another furniture, and yeah, that's kind of exciting as well. So yeah. Great. Okay, let's finish. I don't want to finish, but we have to, because it's time to go. And just as a conclusion of what we talked, what message do you want to leave the audience with?
Invest in your self-awareness, because above all the other things you can invest in, this one is going to pay the highest benefits for you in the future, because everything else you will keep on building on self-awareness.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Teodora. It's a very nice message. I wish all the best for you, and let's keep on in contact and see what we can do together in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It was lovely to talk to you.
Thank you.